morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight of ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red feathers stinging they flew through the night. Our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
My name is Kevin Johnson. I'm Dean of the UC Davis School of Law. And I'd like to welcome you all today to the 2016 UC Davis Convocation. How about another round of applause for the students of the UC Davis Chamber Chorus for their a cappella rendition of the national anthem. You should also give a round of applause for our pianist, student Hannah Yan, and adjunct faculty Marilyn Swan. I have a number of introductions to make this morning, so please bear with me. First, please welcome our stage party, Interim Chancellor Ralph Hexter, and our keynote speaker and the Chief Justice of California and UC Davis alum, Tani Kantil Sakiui. Please join me as well as in acknowledging the members of our campus delegation who are here with us today, including Rachel Goodhue, Chair of the Academic Senate, Zelika Smith-McBride, Vice Chair, Academic Federation, Darylyn Striley, Chair, Staff Assembly, Alex Lee, President of the ASUCD, Carlos Rubalcaba, Vice Chair, Graduate Student Association, GSA. I also want to welcome our elected officials who are present today. Rob Davis, the Mayor of the City of Davis. No, I did get his name right. Rochelle Swanson, Council Member, City of Davis. Cecilia Aguilar Curry, the Mayor of the City of Winters. Don Saylor, Yolo County Supervisor. We are also honored to have Consuls General in attendance this morning. Please extend a warm welcome to Ambassador Pedro Borio, the General Counsel of Brazil, Secretary Juliano Pinto, Deputy Counsel of Brazil, Mrs. Adganjul Ganbayar, the Educational and Cultural Attaché of the Consulate General of Mongolia in San Francisco. Let's give them a round of applause. We are grateful to the many individuals and organizations who do so much to support our mission at UC Davis. Many of them are here today. Your hard work on behalf of UC Davis and your philanthropic support of our students, our faculty, and our programs are vital to the university's ongoing success. We deeply appreciate your commitment to our mission and our vision. Please join me in welcoming our donors and volunteers in attendance, including the UC Davis Foundation Board of Trustees, the Chancellor's Laureates, and the members of the Kelloggi Alumni Association. The UC Davis Foundation promotes philanthropic support for UC Davis, advocates on the university's behalf, and manages a portion of the university's endowment. Please welcome Bruce Bell, Chair of the UC Davis Foundation. We should give him a round of applause. And we should welcome Debbie Degura, President of the Kelloggi Alumni Association. Please join me in welcoming all the new members of the UC Davis community, especially our stellar new faculty, our incredible new staff, and our outstanding incoming students. I know that you all will take us to new heights of excellence. Now, we're very delighted this year to have you all with us this morning for our fall convocation. Our theme this year, and it's one appropriate for the times, is Inspiring Dialogue and Community. Today's convocation is the beginning of a year-long exercise in exploring dialogue and community. Discussion groups, workshops, and areas where we can come together and discuss difficult issues as a campus community will be offered on campus throughout the year. We invite you to take part and to explore how we might better address our differences in an environment of trust, respect, and understanding. 2 dialogue workshops are being offered later today on campus, and their times and locations will be up on the screen at the end of the program. Now, today's convocation will be a little bit different from ones we've had in the past. We'll feature presentations from Interim Chancellor Ralph Hexter and Chief Justice Kantil Sakyui. And their presentations will be preceded by and interspersed with videos and spoken word speakers. The videos will provide snapshots of the perceptions of our campus community. Everyone has a story, and at UC Davis we celebrate each other's stories, our differences, and our educational pursuits. Spoken word performance, poetry, is grounded in the literary arts, is a very powerful storytelling tool. We embody our narratives and bring words to life from the page to the stage. Now, the spoken word presentations will feature UC Davis students offering their own individual perspectives on campus life. With that, we turn to our first video, The Power of Listening, which will be followed immediately by our first spoken word presenter, Valentine Sierra, Native American Studies undergrad, who will present Poetry as Ceremony.
We all have a need to belong. We all have a need to be interconnected. One of the things that social media and the digital media have brought to us is more connectedness, which I think is a good thing. Where social media falls short, I believe, is that one-on-one, that face-to-face interaction is really lost in that translation.
So easy for us to hide behind a screen, to be looking down at our cell phones.
The internet has sort of made everyone their own little television commentator about the social world. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody now has the ability to share their opinion.
On YouTube, for instance, there's a lot of trolling because there's just people that don't actually care about what the content of the video, they're just saying words.
We're very attracted by what we see in the multiple screens that we have available to us, by the to-do list that we have in our minds. But if we want to listen to someone, we just need to stop all that and focus and be present.
Listening sometimes can be hard because maybe you have something happening in your life that you just cannot focus your whole attention to the other person.
To listen means to give the other person undivided attention. You listen with your eyes, with your ears, with your heart. And it's more than just hearing, it's really striving for greater understanding.
I could lean forward a bit and I could be like, look in the eyes and like nod my head. I could pretend like I'm listening to you and I can be like, oh, that's really interesting. Although I don't think that's like really what listening is. Listening is more like taking in what the other person says and processing that.
When I think about dialogue, two words come to mind, and that one is meaningfulness, and the second one is mindfulness.
One of the things that's missing from a lot of dialogue is that the real understanding and acknowledgement that all of our experiences are not the same.
Well, to me, meaningful dialogue requires stopping, listening, reflecting, and then thoughtfully presenting an answer to what you just heard.
When I'm stuck in writing my words, I think of my ancestors. Here, beneath these four walls, what does it mean to teach on stolen land, to be here in higher education, where we speak of words like social justice and diversity, but pay no mind to the original peoples of this land? I am here, this place, this university. It all stands to unravel me. Listen when I tell you I am majoring in Native American Studies. If you came here just to get a degree, at least let me tell you about culture, our traditions ingrained in the soil, our songs to welcome the flowers as they bloom, our traditions and our ceremonies to welcome the sun as it rises every morning for our 8 a.m. classes. When I am stuck in writing my words, I think of the future, 7 generations forward. And if you came here pre-med, majoring in neurobiology, physiology, and behavior, and engineering, psychology, animal science major, let me tell you, a tough first quarter is okay. A tough first year is okay. A tough 4 years is okay. When I am stuck in writing my words, I place this saying from my tribe's language, Lios Mchinaivu. May the Creator keep you close. Now I want you to look me in the eye and tell me what you see. Nation to nation, brown hands on brown hands, always with glitter, singing Yaqui deer songs in the Arboretum, putting tobacco down before midterms, classes in Wellman. Here, Native American history is taught as an elective, a class you all should take. But like really though, y'all should take NAS 5. Gathering sweetgrass, we remember the Putwin people, taking away to the missions, the ones we learned about in 4th grade class. This is our history, the history of California, the University of California. When you're stuck in writing your words, remember, education as liberation. We're Res Girls for life, straight from the barrio. And now you finally have an answer to the question, what is your major? Welcome, Aggie Class of 2020.
Thank you, Val. Our next speaker is Interim Chancellor Ralph Hexter. Ralph Hexter was appointed Interim Chancellor, Acting Chancellor, and later Interim Chancellor this year. He's the top institutional leader and primary public representative of UC Davis, including the health system in Sacramento. He oversees all aspects of the university's mission of teaching, research, and public service. Throughout his career, Chancellor Hexter has made it a priority to foster excellence across the full range of disciplines and professions and to promote equal opportunity, diversity, and inclusion for all students, faculty, and staff. Ralph Hexter came to UC Davis in 2011 as Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor, the university's Chief Academic Officer and #2 person in the university administration. Before that, he was president of Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts, and executive dean of the College of Letters and Sciences of UC Berkeley. He's a founding member LGBTQ presidents in higher education. In addition to his administrative role, Chancellor Hexter holds the position of Distinguished Professor of Classics and Comparative Literature. His teaching and research focus on the interpretation and meaning of classical Greek and Roman literature from antiquity through the Middle Ages to modern times. Please join me in welcoming Interim Chancellor Ralph Hexter to the podium.
Thank you. I'm delighted to join all of you today for the 2016 UC Davis Fall Convocation. Like its predecessors, this occasion allows us to come together to reflect on what we stand for as an intellectual community and where we are going as we begin a new academic year. First, however, I want to begin by remembering Marguerite Mondavi, a dear friend of our campus who passed away last month. Without Marguerite and her husband Robert, there would be no Mondavi Center for us to gather in. Given her passionate dedication to the arts and to beauty, it's fitting that we look with fresh eyes and appreciation at this marvelous hall where faculty, students, staff, and members of the community from near and far come together to enjoy music, dance, and other performing arts, as well as to ponder the words of lecturers. Thank you, Marguerite. The theme for this year's convocation focuses on dialogue and community because it seems extraordinarily timely. 2016 is an election year when we can expect debates, but I can't recall a moment in my lifetime when the political discourse of our national community was more starkly polarized, dysfunctional, or lacking in civility. Media, whether online or on air, seem only to amplify the shrillness of speakers exchanging barbs and frequently ungrounded assertions. And the 24-hour news cycle leaves no one a moment for reflection. Universities are of the world, of that there is no question, but they need not replicate the world in every regard. We all come to a university expecting different things, and we may have different ideas about what would constitute the ideal university. I have always looked to the university to be a place where all sorts of different ideas were encountered, where members of the university community would discuss them freely and passionately, and where we all had the opportunity to evaluate them and decide which to pursue further, which to leave aside. Some of the ideas we encounter might be startlingly new, radical departures from received wisdom. Some might unsettle or alarm us or even offend and provoke. Sometimes we may simply listen and walk away. Sometimes, whether in class or elsewhere on campus, we may take the opportunity to discuss and debate. In these contentious times, it's more than ever crucial that we improve our capacity to conduct debates and dialogue. That is, if we want our university to be a true community and also a true scholarly community, one that fearlessly pursues truth by critically engaging with the broadest range of ideas. Dialogue and how it can constitute rather than divide our diverse campus community is a theme that deserves more than an hour, even if that hour includes, as it does today, extraordinarily contributions from many members of our community. I refer to the voices you have heard and will hear from the videos and spoken word performers, from Dean Johnson, and from our keynote speaker, Tanil Sakiyue, Chief Justice of the State of California. Our thought is that today's convocation will be the first of many new opportunities for all members of our community, not only to engage in dialogue, but also to learn how each of us might engage in dialogue more effectively. I've described my ideal university as a place of robust and unrestricted dialogue. Let me explain how and why, from my perspective, this is such an essential and precious aspect of the university. Notwithstanding time, manner, place restrictions, the freedom to say what one wishes is constitutionally protected at all public universities, and in California, at private colleges and universities as well. This suggests that California's lawmakers recognized unhindered expression as somehow essential to every institution of higher education. Beyond the constitutionally protected right to free speech that students, faculty, and staff all enjoy, American institutions of higher education have, for about a century, ensured or sought to ensure for their faculty something called academic freedom. That is, the right to pursue research, to draw and publish conclusions, and to determine course content based on their own independent judgment. No administrator and no governmental agency can impose or restrict the content of research, publication, or teaching. And the University of California further established early in this century that students also have certain kinds of academic freedom too. In short, we can happily say that students, staff, and faculty at American universities today enjoy robust freedom when it comes to the expression of ideas, whether in private or public speech, or in the context of educational or research activities. But I want to stress, it's that we must not take this broad freedom of expression for granted. We must not fail to see that it can easily be lost under the wrong conditions. This is the lesson we learned from observing the often harsh limits on expression, and in some cases resulting in expulsion or arrest, to which many academics and students are subjected around the globe. It's also the lesson that we learned from examining our own history, for it was not that long ago, only about half a century, that faculty freedom of expression was put under a severe test during the powerful anti-communist movement of the 1940s and 1950s. The loyalty oath required of all employees of California state universities is still with us, vividly reminding us of what happened and what might happen again. Looking back even further, we find more reasons for us to be vigilant in our protection of free expression. Universities were not always bastions of this right, anything but. The precursors of our modern universities came into being in medieval Europe, not as spaces for open teaching and discussion, but rather as institutions subject to the authority of the Catholic Church. Debate was cultivated in the highly formalized dance of pro and con argumentation in which the so-called scholastics engaged, but only within certain bounds. If some arguments ventured too far from orthodoxy, sooner or later orthodoxy or right belief was reasserted. The Bishop of Paris, for example, ultimately decided how much Aristotle could be studied at the University of Paris and how that philosopher's teachings were to be interpreted so as not to contradict Christian faith. Similarly, the earliest institutions of higher education in our own hemisphere were created to deliver Christian religious instruction and train religious personnel. For example, the University of San Marcos in Lima in 1551 and Harvard College in Massachusetts in 1636. By this time, however, in both Europe and the Americas, the Catholic Church had competition from various forms of reforming or Protestant churches, and the early colleges and universities were vigorously sectarian, promoting one particular theological view or another. These sectarian debates were carried out not only in academic circles. Many parts of Europe, for example, were engulfed in decades-long religious wars between 1550 and 1650. Now you're probably asking yourself, what does this ancient and rather scholarly history of university conflict have to do with the modern university and with us today? Quite a bit, as it turns out. Those early scholars ultimately realized that there was only one way out of the endless cycle of irreconcilable debates about matter of faith and doctrine. Proponents of different sides of the debate saw that they had to agree upon rules of interpretation and engagement if they wanted to get beyond simply shouting past one another as they proclaimed their personal convictions. These rules of engagement ultimately evolved into the scholarly standards by which all of us in the university operate when, for example, in our various disciplines, we judge the worthiness of a new idea or theory. Both our striving for the ideal of full and objective truth and our disposition always to doubt that we've attained it have their roots in this self-discipline of critical judgment. Early modern scholars did not merely develop rules of engagement that made dialogue more manageable. They developed a mental posture that made that dialogue beneficial. In a world of so much certainty, which led hundreds of thousands to slaughter each other on the battlefields of Europe out of deeply held personal faith and conviction, doubt itself became a powerful counterforce. Recognizing the possibility that one's own beliefs might be incomplete, inadequate, or even mistaken was a decisive step toward both social harmony and deeper understanding. One can look at the origin of the scientific method as a harnessing of doubt in the pursuit of truth. Those who made doubt the organizing principle of their thinking called themselves skeptics, a word we still use today to describe doubters. Following an ancient school of philosophy, the most extreme and principled skeptics subjected all ideas and premises, including their own, to the withering glare of doubt. In my ideal university, we engage in dialogue in a similar spirit, sincerely entertaining the possibility that we can gain insight from our dialogue partner. We readily accept that our own current grasp of the truth may be incomplete and that even our deepest convictions may be questionable or based on faulty premises. Keeping our minds open to the possibility of a different interpretation is difficult, but it's a discipline worth developing. One of the modes that I particularly value is called interpretive charity. When confronted with an idea that seems utterly wrong, we nonetheless try to understand in what way it might contain some truth, or at least how it might seem to contain truth to others. No need to shout down the speaker of such an idea, indeed every reason not to. We all gain more if we attempt to engage an idea thoughtfully rather than silence it, and this is especially true in the case of ideas that many of us believe are mistaken or offensive. At the same time, it's important to remember that most people, like those early scholars I spoke of, sincerely believe in the ideas they argue for and see themselves on the side of the right and the good. It's worth learning exactly why they believe what they believe, whether or not we ultimately end up agreeing or disagreeing with them. A campus community's shared practice of responding to any idea with respectful and thoughtful engagement can help not only to deepen its collective understanding of important issues, but also to heal divisions, harmonize differences, and promote productive cooperation. Just as I hope that all of us step into every classroom with an open mind and pick up every book ready to test the ideas it presents and to test ourselves against those ideas, so I hope we are prepared to listen to and discuss in a rational, informed, and respectful way what our fellow community members say, particularly when they say what we find most challenging. As I've said, the potential for such dialogue is, in my view, one of the most precious aspects of a university. It is for that reason that I commit myself to preserving UC Davis's strong tradition of free expression, rigorous pursuit of knowledge and understanding, and mutual respect. I invite you to join me in our collective responsibility to maintain this and to cherish it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Hexter. Your dedication to open discourse and civility, to diversity and excellence, makes me proud to work with you. Our next video is Under Conflict for Growth. Will be followed by our second spoken word presenter, Takara Johnson, a major in African American Studies. She will present her poem, Great Teachers.
Conflict.
Conflict is conflict.
I enjoy conflict.
Personally, is something that I don't like.
And there's probably some people that are going to be laughing at that comment.
Disagreements can be really beautiful. It's because if two people agree with each other, then you don't learn anything. But if two people disagree, that gives you an opportunity to talk to each other, to hear each other out, and kind of grow and think for your own opinion.
Conflict is something very difficult. Conflict arises when we're not listening and being in the present moment with the other person.
I think conflict is something that we all have been working on trying to resolve.
When I am faced with a conflicting person, I'm patient. Patience is key to speaking to conflicting people. Once I get my opportunity to speak to a conflicting person, and I make sure those words that I say in that short window of time I'm able to speak, those are the most powerful words I can speak.
It is necessary, and whether we like it or not, it's going to happen. And what it matters is how we deal with it, how we approach it.
If dialogue now becomes the cultural norm of our community, people now will begin to feel validated for who they are. They'll feel authentic, they'll feel valued, they'll have a better sense of belonging, and above all, their dignity will be respected.
Brothers and sisters walk in the streets misunderstood. Limitless potential, but we never understood hope. Souls and pockets broken with our minds open. We are because of what already is. Uplifted and empowered by our village. Mama went to great lengths to provide for her kids, so I naturally represent boss ladies who handle their business. A cycle is defined as a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order, cycles, kept alive by keeping the same things going, cycles, incubated into our culture, rich traditions that serve as the detriments to our communities. We keep them going, but for once, the cycles have been broken. This cycle is like Michael moonwalking on prime time for the first time. But the appeal is to the systems that get paid for the cycles to repeat. We are born, we go to school, and then we are institutionalized and beat. Power comes in many forms, but is most liberating when found in the form of education, breaking barriers, pushing past limits. We are free because we can think, not because we are free to think. Power comes in many forms, but is most liberating when found in the form of critical thought, self-motivated, critically thinking leaders who are built to break cycles. What's worse than the curse in the verse of a child who has never touched a mic before, never been empowered by a platform, never been empowered by a platform. Give our baby stage and watch cycles break by the hands of babes. Watch these cycles utter truth, utter from the mouth of babes. We are babes demanding equality. Not waiting for Superman, but becoming Superman. Every loose end of great teaching tied together by the willpower of deserving students. We are testaments to liberation. Liberation through education. Free your mind and free yourself from these cycles. I say thank you, Mrs. Teacher. Thank you for the space and opportunity. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you for listening just as much as you speak and learning just as much as you teach. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you for not abandoning me. I'm just patient enough to see what comes from the seeds that you teach. When I see your eyes, I see the hope you have for me. You undoubtedly know my strengths and only hope to pull more out of me. You spend more time in the classroom than you do at home. And you're never too busy to lend an ear to our heart song. You're always, always, always available. You know our stories and you're always honest. You're the reason why I decided to pursue this thing called college. This is for the good teacher, for the heroes, who are the educators whose wages are paid in promise. You know our stories and you're always honest. I thank you for being the light at the end of these institutionalized tunnels. Thank you.
Thank you, Takara. That's a tough act to follow. Our keynote speaker this year is one of our own. A UC Davis undergraduate and alumna of King Hall, Chief Justice Tani Kantil-Sakui is the 28th Chief Justice of the state of California. She was sworn into office in 2011. She's the first Asian Filipino American and the second woman to serve as the state's Chief Justice. After former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger nominated her as Chief Justice in 2010, the California State Bar Judicial Nominees Evaluation Commission rated her as exceptionally well qualified for the position. There's no higher evaluation than that, and it's a very political job, so the fact that she got that evaluation speaks volumes about her qualifications. At a public hearing in August 2010, she was unanimously confirmed without any serious opposition by the Commission on Judicial Appointments. In a general election in November 2010, an overwhelming majority of voters confirmed her to the position of Chief Justice of California. As Chief Justice, she administers one of the largest judicial systems in the entire world, and she's shown herself to be dedicated to equal access to justice for all, for people without money as well as those with money. She was born in Sacramento, attended McClatchy High School, and then Sacramento City College. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of California, Davis, graduating with honors. After taking a year off to visit her ancestral homeland, the Philippines, the Chief Justice entered the UC Davis Martin Luther King Jr. School of Law. And we have a picture of her displayed at the law school at our introductory picnic in a very warm day as she's first attending her first law school event. After receiving her JD in 1984, the Chief Justice worked as a Deputy District Attorney for the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office, where she prosecuted a variety of crimes. From 1988 to 1990, she served as the senior staff of Governor Duke Mason in two capacities, first as Deputy Legal Affairs Secretary and later as a Deputy Legislative Secretary. It's my great pleasure, an honor really, to introduce you to Chief Justice of California, Tani Kantil-Sakyui.
Good morning and welcome to UC Davis and the Davis community. I'm honored to be able to share some words at the 2016 convocation. Let me say that welcome to you who are returning, but an especially warm welcome to those of you who are new. When you become part of Davis, when you join this school, you become part of the town. And it is a memory and a feeling that stays with you for a lifetime, in my view, because of the special nature of Davis, the closeness of the community, the accessibility of the professors, the open freedoms, as the Chancellor described here. And let me also say that the entering class, that you are important people, and your 12 years, particularly your last 4, those of intention, brought you here today by choice. And as you sit here and as you contemplate your future and think about a major, and as you get used to your new roommate and your new surroundings and your independence and your accountability and your responsibility, I want you to know that you were picked not only for your grades and your accomplishments, but primarily for your potential. Your potential. You have it, and now you will have an opportunity to apply it. So I tell you to fear not the future, because you have what it takes. You have the tools, you have that potential, and now you will apply it in ways that will surprise and confound and delight you for the next years of your life. I remember looking back at the time when I first started at UC Davis. I felt alone, shy, quiet. I knew no one knew me. I didn't have the comfort or the safety net of my old network of friends or routine. Everything was new and different, to the food, to the bed, to the air. I was riding a bicycle for the first time in 10 years, plus 30 pounds of textbook on my back. And I was riding to foreign places in wind and rain. And I will say, a lifetime hack for those of you who are starting UC Davis: when it rains, buy a fender for your back tire, or you will forever remember and sympathize with every cyclist you see who has that gray stripe up their back. But I left UC Davis as a person prepared for the future, my undergrad here and my law school here. It left me prepared to be a lawyer. And I will tell you that when I came to this school, I basically stared at my shoes. And by the time I left, I could stare people in the eye. And I chose a profession of conflict. I chose a profession of challenge and attack and inflammatory remarks. I chose an arena where every day we fought. I've been in that arena now for over 30 years. And I stand here today to tell you every day I am eager to return to it. Every day. Because of the ability to talk about conflict, the ability to work through issues, even though it may involve millions of dollars, or hundreds of years in prison, or resolution. Because the ability to talk through conflict, the ability to bring peace, to facilitate, to mediate, to discourse with each other is invaluable. It enriches your life. It makes the years go by. And Davis is a perfect place for me to have learned that. And so I think maybe in some respects, that's why I was asked to deliver some remarks to this convocation with the novel concept, in my view, of stating inspiring dialogue and community. Notice it's not just dialogue and community. It's about inspiring it, inspiring discussion and the give and take, the constructive discussion that we all have with each other that will inform the rest of your life. And it is so timely, as Chancellor Hexter has already referred to, as Dean Johnson has already referred to, as all of us know, that you students and we adults, we are in a brink of unusual times. And the brink is this: we've always had challenges. The United States, California, the cities, municipalities have always had problems and issues, but we have never seen such strident discourse. We have never seen such strident, vocal, divisive discourse that has not led to solution, but led to more polarization. And so you are the young thought leaders of the future. And so your leaders here at the school, the faculty, staff, even your peers are here to encourage you to inspire dialogue and a sense of community, a sense of belonging to solve the problems that will face you in the future. Because what we are discussing today, the narrative of the present day, will be the issues that you will wrangle with in the future. And I'm talking about as broadly as international issues having to do with religious wars that create refugees, international questions of politics and academia and international policies, to national issues of immigration, of homelessness, of law enforcement reform, of sharing water, of sharing land, of climate control, even to issues that affect this university that has before it administrative challenges. And as you go forward in these administrative challenges together as a community, I hope that you heal and that your discourse is inspirational, because it is inspirational discourse that invites others to participate. It invites everyone to be at the table. Divisive discourse, name-calling, shaming, media bullying, all of this does nothing to further discourse, does nothing to solve the problem. It distracts from the problem. And let me tell you, from years of running a court, 9 years of running a negotiation court, a getting to yes between lawyers, no less, every day is something that requires you, all the participants, to be something of a diplomat. Because if you're there for solution, then you are there to understand that it must be a negotiated disposition. No one walks away with the whole pie. It cannot be. It must be a negotiation. And so I'm happy to share with you some thoughts about inspiring discourse, inspiring then the feeling of community that we have in our discourse, that we are about to resolve a matter of great importance. And so I will say to you that in all my years on the bench and as a lawyer, that it matters what's said, but equally as important as what is said is how it's said, and the manner in which it's said, and the manner in which it is received. I've always told my children that you can say anything you want to me. You can disagree with me. I only ask that you do it in a civil tone. When I was a lawyer turned judge, one of the greatest compliments I received from an attorney was, "You know, Judge, you always disagree, but you disagree in the nicest of ways." And I said, Well, I disagree, because I don't always disagree. So you see, there are ways that we can agree to disagree and yet still move on to the ultimate solution. And so I share with you something about your own words, something that our student speakers referred to, something that the Chancellor referred to, something that the 2 videos you've seen have referred to. And that is, it is imperative how we say things, that we choose our words carefully. Because when we don't choose our words carefully, people impute intent, wrongful intent behind those words. And so it's important that when we speak about a contested issue, that we speak fairly, that we are speaking factually, that we don't skew the message with inflammation, with drama, that we speak fairly if we're truly there to be part of the community to address the challenge, and that we speak respectfully. And I say this because respectful speaking allows your opponent some dignity in withdrawing from their position rather than being attacked and embarrassed. I've run years of negotiation. I understand how important it is to leave room for a graceful exit, for people to depart with dignity or to disagree with dignity and yet come back the next day to discuss the same issue. So I say that it is so important what we say, but how we say it, and that we say it in a way that is truth to ourselves and truth to power, but that it is in a way that doesn't alienate and doesn't intend to alienate. Because I know, like you, hardly anything really moves me to act when first you call me a name, or first you categorize me, or first you diminish my position. It does nothing to further the discussion by blaming, by pointing fingers, by insulting. Now, I will say that that is obviously a natural tendency, and there's a place for that. It's called at home with your loved ones. I'm not saying that it's not cathartic. Believe me, I have had enough challenges in my life to know the need for catharsis. But as a member of a community to inspire discourse, as has been said, you must establish a trusting environment that allows the other person to rise to the occasion and model you have set and respond with equal dignity. It's important. And then on the listening side of that, when you are listening to the response, it is so critical to know this, something else we learned from childhood. Feelings are never wrong. Feelings are not wrong. Now, your facts may be absolutely erroneous, and it may in fact be that you see the world through different eyes. And you know, whoever I'm having a challenge discourse with, I hope so. I hope they have different eyes, because it's through their eyes, I, as a listener, if I'm paying attention, am able to see the world differently. I'm able to see it through the perspective of a young woman, an older woman, an ethnic woman. I'm able to see it from the eyes of my 85-year-old mother and my 18-year-old daughter. And I learn from that. See, people don't understand, in my view, how often and how important we grow from listening to others. Every day, every week, I sit down with my other 6 colleagues on the California Supreme Court to discuss the most important divisive legal issues of the day. And every day, I learn from them. I may not agree, but I learn how they think. And I learn the important values that they represent through their experiences. And it grows me. We learn from others. We don't just disdain and completely block and think that they're wrong. We should take what we can to learn from that. Because if we take a piece of what we learn from them and we next use it in our next constructive dialogue with that person, we will form a connection. We will form beginnings of the strands of community. We begin to know that that person says, I understand you, and you understand me. We may disagree on the ultimate remedy, or in fact, we may come to some negotiated remedy where neither of us received 100%. But at the same time, the next time I'm in discussion with you, I can trust you. I can know that you hear me when I speak, and I have created an environment of community. I have created maybe an ally when we see an issue the same way. And now we are on the same side of that issue, speaking yet to a bigger community about discourse and challenges facing us today in our community of UC Davis campus, in our community of UC Davis, in our community of Sacramento, California, the United States. It grows. These skills you'll develop here at Davis in this environment will serve you well in all of the challenges and conflicts you will face every day in your life. Another aspect about inspiring discourse and community is to not only understand the perspectives, but I think to engage what I use regularly is my filter. My filter is almost like a physical barrier with great big holes in it. And what the filter does is when people come to me as the Chief Justice or to me as mom, and they come with great dramatic, horrible stories of a terrible injustice that has been done to them, I say, well, back off and remove every adjective. Just back off, tell me exactly what happened, but I want you to remove every piece of editorializing that you have said to me. And I try then to discern the nut of the problem. And then I can gather from the objectives pretty clearly how they feel about it. But the point is that as you discern, as you become citizens of this community and larger communities, it's so important to not be distracted by the shiny, jagged edges of inflammatory adjectives that somehow taint the message you receive. You're important, significant critical thinkers and important leaders. And so to work on the bigger problems that address you and community and on this campus, in this state, and in the world, it requires us to rise above much of the noise and the devolvement of blogs and anonymous comments to really think about solution and to inspire discourse collectively. We are such a diverse community. We must include and collaborate with all of ourselves in order to reach a durable solution that will last for all of us. It can't be done by one or one small group. And I give you a modern day small example of this. The iOS 10 Apple upgrade. Now, I am going to factually describe this and take out all inflammatory adjectives and only say that after I experienced some difficulty with my iPhone, I went to the video area to check on whether or not other people had reported solutions to the problems I perceived with iOS 10. And what I saw was public comment that was as profane and vulgar and useless as I could possibly imagine, a level below bathroom graffiti. And I thought to myself, this is the opposite of inspiring dialogue and community. But it is so common about even the greater issues of our time. And I just ask that you be aware of it, be attuned to it, that you think of yourself as the lightning rod of the olive branch to encourage and inspire discourse, to be solution-oriented, if that is your aim. If your aim is not to be solution-oriented, if your aim is in fact to continue to divert and to stir the pot, then be a bully and shame and call names and don't listen to the other side. But then prepare yourself for a lifetime of polarization. So I speak to you in terms today of understanding that we are in this together. The solutions will only be resolved by all of us, and it's so important to have a forum for an opportunity at justice, and that is through inspiring discourse and community. Thank you for the opportunity.
Chief Justice, thanks for those wonderful remarks. Let's give her another round of applause. Our final video is Doing the Work to Inspire Dialogue and Community. And our final spoken word presenter is Denisha Bland, who's majoring in communication studies, will present her poem, Explain, Please.
I think the theme that was chosen this year to inspire dialogue within our community is a very important theme. Our community has gone through a period of crisis, and we all need to come together and learn to talk to each other and learn to listen to each other.
There's been a lot of problems with the university because I think it's a lot of times us and them, the admin and then the students.
But everyone's different from each other, you know? It's like Sesame Street. They're all these different monsters, and we're all, you know, trying to like get along with each other and live with each other.
The dialogue, the conflict is not about you or not about me, but it's about we.
We are engaged with each other. It is not adversarial. It is with the mutual and collective effort.
What it's like to have an inclusive learning and an inclusive workplace environment. Communication's a big piece of reaching inclusion excellence.
You know, it's important to have dialogue. It's important to talk over disagreements, so that way we can grow, you know, not only in our own lives, but as, you know, a community as whole.
I think that having that quality interaction that you gain through dialogue with other people, again, is invaluable. And how could we not, as a community, as a campus, not want to go down that road?
True understanding takes time, and there's no shortcut. We have to take the time to explain. We have to take the time to listen, and it's an absolutely worthwhile undertaking, a worthwhile endeavor.
Sitting in juvenile court, staring down the hall, asking myself, why do I see all y'all? All my beautiful black and brown faces with a few white sprinkles here and there, depressed looks on their faces, hands adjusting while they're adjusting in the chair, wondering, am I going home or am I going downstairs to that place where I'm all theirs? How is it that they can just take us away from our moms because we don't abide by the rules of Uncle Tom? We just kids from the ghetto. There's a liquor store on every corner of my block. Don't wear their own color or you might end up shot. It's a life or death situation out here on these streets. You better wear a vest or stay strapped with the heat. Protect yourself by any means necessary for the mighty dollar is what they always told me. It's not the kids, they just the allies going astray in the streets. Can somebody explain to me why? Try to go to school. As soon as I enter the room, the teacher says bye-bye. I'm not getting paid enough. Why should I? Care for kids that don't care for self. That's just one last brother we have to worry about getting wealth. Can somebody explain to me why? A little girl tell adult she want to be a dancer. The adults say you look like somebody that want to dance on the pole. Shattered the child whole dreams. Now she walking street nights cold. Can somebody explain to me why? Public pretenders say, take the case. It'll be closed by the time you're 18. What you mean by the time I'm 18? You mean to tell me if I pop something at 23, they won't bring up what I did when I was 18? Woman, please, I'm trying to live and be free. My mom always told me to hit back if somebody put their hands on me. Can somebody explain to me why all my black and brown faces sitting here waiting to hear the judge's speech, mine are underage facing life at the age of 13? Can somebody explain to me why we live like we do? Is it we, our society, we're losing our kids to a system that's set up for them not to win? Can somebody explain to me why an officer has 3 choices, but he always chooses number 3, place the minor in custody and refer his case to a juvenile facility? Can somebody explain to me why? The system is screwed from what I can see. That's why all my black and brown faces waiting there to say, guilty. Thank you.
Thanks for those powerful remarks, Denisha. Now, if you'd like information on today's program and theme, please visit the websites that are on the back of your printed programs. There'll be workshops later today. They're described up on the screen here. We encourage you to attend and participate. That concludes our 2016 convocation. We've heard a lot about respect, dignity, and tolerance. We invite you to encourage you to be involved in discussions and engage in dialogue activities throughout the coming year. To the extent that we can remain open with and continue communicating with one another in a manner that celebrates our diversity, shows respect for one another, and our commitment to freedom of expression, we will grow and improve as a campus and a community. There are refreshments available on the Vanderhoof Quad, and the spoken word presenters will be there available to meet with you and answer any questions. I'm a lawyer, so I've been instructed to tell you, please be safe when you cross the street. Thank you for being here.